بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is Dr. Marwa Shaheen, Assistant Professor of Forensic Medicine and Clinical Toxicology. Our lecture today is about sex identification. By the end of this lecture, we should know definition of identification, recognize type of identification, discuss the medico-legal importance of sex identification, describe methods of sex identification in a living person, and recognize medico-legal aspects of intersex states. What is identification? It is the recognition of an unknown person, whether living, dead, or just body remains, through certain features and characters which differentiate him from all others. Identification can be classified into complete identification, which is the absolute fixation of the individuality of a person, meaning we know this person completely by name. For example, this is Ahmed, this is Muhammad. Partial identification, which means just assertment of only some facts, like sex, age, race, stature. These facts may be helpful for complete identification later on. Types of identification. Legal identification. It is the complete description of unknown dead body in order to identify this person later on. Personal or civil identification. It is the recognition of dead body or a living person by relatives, friends, or witness in front of civil courts. In cases of marriage, inheritance, divorce, in front of civil courts. Criminal identification. It is the job of the police, where different parts of fingerprints can be used, just like dactylography, photographs, lip prints, footprints, and DNA. Items of identification. Report of identification or protocol of identification should contain the following, as much as possible: age, sex, race, stature, religion. Almost these items are basic. Description of congenital features like complexion, color of the skin, shape of the mouth, nose, ear, slope of the forehead, shape of the eyes. Just complete description of all that we can see in the dead or living body. Acquired features like occupational marks, operation scars, and tattoo marks. Any peculiarities in the gait during walking. These features are acquired during life, but congenital features, this person was born with these features. Photographs, full face photograph and profile from the side, and full description of the clothes and any articles connected to the person. Identification of sex. When identification of sex is important, in which cases? In front of civil law, in cases of marriage, inheritance, and in medical profession, we may face babies with ambiguous external genitalia. This is important because babies must be examined by neonatologists at time of birth. If a born baby has congenital anomalies of the external genitalia, and the examining physician didn't report this case, he may face a case of malpractice, because a lot of cases of congenital anomalies of external genitalia, if diagnosed at birth, this give chance for the baby and his family to seek medical advice and intervention at once. If this didn't happen in the right time, in the correct time, it can be corrected later on. So this physician may face a malpractice case. In front of criminal law, because some criminals can conceal their sex by reconstruction of secondary sexual organs to appear as belonging to the other sex. And in cases of mass disaster. What is mass disaster? It is any accident where 10 or more persons were killed or died. Any mass disaster, the full protocol of identification must be applied. In some cases, determining the sex is not that easy. It's not clear-cut. Sometimes we can determine if a person is male or female. These cases are called intersex states. Intersex states are conditions in which male and female characters coexist in varying proportion in the same individual. What we mean by characters, we mean gonads, external physical form, and sexual behavior. Intersex states are divided into three main types: gonad agenesis, gonad dysgenesis, and hermaphrodite states. Before we talk about types of intersex states, we have to put a rule. It will make it easy to understand. What determines sex? We have two pillars, on gross level and on cellular level. On gross level, presence of gonads, which are the primary sexual organs, testes in males and ovaries in females. On gross levels, gonads determine sex. On cellular level, on chromosomal level, Y chromosome, which determines sex. Presence of Y chromosome means that this person is a male. Absence of Y chromosome means that this person is a female. The first type of intersex states is gonad agenesis. Agenesis means gonads have never developed. Gonads are not present in the body. The body has no gonads at all, no ovary, no testis. It is a very rare condition. Testes and ovaries have never developed. In this case, gonad agenesis, we say sexing is negative. Why? Because an important pillar that we depend on for determining sex is absent. There is no gonads, so sexing is negative. The second type is gonad dysgenesis. Dysgenesis occur due to abnormal distribution of chromosomes inside the nucleus. There are many syndromes under this subtype, but we have only two examples: Turner syndrome as an example of absent or missing chromosome, and Klinefelter syndrome as an example of an extra chromosome. Here we want to remember how chromosomes determine the sex of an individual. Normally, all eggs or ova have X chromosome. Sperms either have X chromosome or Y chromosome. An ovum or egg with X chromosome with sperm with X chromosome forming a zygote XX. This is a female zygote. An ovum with X chromosome with a sperm with Y chromosome, a zygote of XY. This is male. In Turner syndrome, there is a missing chromosome, a missing sex chromosome. Only one X chromosome and the other sex chromosome is missing. The zygote is female, and this is Turner syndrome. In Klinefelter syndrome, there is an extra X chromosome, XXY. Presence of Y chromosome means that this person is male, regardless the external appearance or the external physical form is. What are the characters of Turner syndrome? Turner syndrome, this person is a female. Normally, females of Turner syndrome are born with some physical characters. They are of short stature, webbed neck, congenital anomalies in the heart, congenital anomalies of the kidneys. Normally, they are born with normal ovary. Then, with growth, ovaries become fibrosed. Ovaries become fibrosed. On the time of puberty, ovaries become completely fibrosed. So this female will never approach sexual maturity. There is sexual infantilism. So they have primary amenorrhea. They don't have menstruation at all. These females normally die or usually die at age of 30s due to complications of the congenital anomalies of the heart. So, the general characters of females with Turner syndrome is short stature, congenital anomalies of the heart, congenital anomalies of the kidneys, webbed neck, fibrosed ovaries at the time of puberty, and sexual infantilism. Klinefelter syndrome we remember that the chromosomal structure is XXY, an extra X chromosome. This is a male due to presence of Y chromosome. A male of tall stature, more than the span. What is the span? The span is when we measure the outstretched hands. Normally, in a normal body, the stature is equal to the span, which is the measure of the outstretched hands. In this case, in Klinefelter syndrome, the stature is more than the span of the hands. There is absent frontal baldness in the hairline, tendency to fewer hair all over the body, narrow shoulders and wide hips, which is the distribution or the measurements of the normal female body, not the male. The male, in the contrary, usually the male have wide shoulders, narrow hips. But in Klinefelter syndrome, these persons have some feminine characters. narrow shoulders, wide hips, female type pubic hair pattern, small testicular size. In this case also, testes are normally at time of birth, but with growth they become fibrosed, so this person also never reach sexual maturity. The third type of intersex states is hermaphrodite. What is hermaphrodite? The term hermaphrodite has been used to describe people with ambiguous genitalia or biological sex. The term hermaphrodite is derived from ancient Greek stories or myths, where Hermes was the symbol for masculinity and Aphrodite was the symbol for feminine characters. So the term hermaphrodite means one person has the characters of both sexes in one body. Hermaphrodite states are subdivided into true hermaphrodite and false or pseudo hermaphrodite. True hermaphrodite. The same individual possesses both non-complete functional testicles and ovaries, named ovotestes, with external genitalia of both sexes. Ovotestes has many forms, maybe on both sides bilateral, the both organs or the both gonads, each is formed of mixed tissues of testicular tissue and ovarian tissue. This is a case. This is one case. One organ has mixed tissues of both. Other cases, on one side an ovary and on the other side a mixed organ ovotestis. Another case, on one side a testicle and the other side ovotestis. Whatever. In all these cases, gonads are non-functional. This picture is of a gold medalist in 1932 named Stella Walsh. Stella Walsh was a case of intersex state, true hermaphrodite. The other subtype of hermaphrodite states is false or pseudo hermaphrodite. I just want to remind you that all cases of hermaphrodites have no chromosomal abnormalities. It only occurs as a developmental anomaly in the embryo inside the uterus, but no chromosomal abnormalities. Subtypes of false hermaphrodite states are testicular hermaphrodite and female or ovarian hermaphrodite. Remember that we rely on gonads to determine sex. So when we say testicular hermaphrodite, this is a male who has a testis, regardless what the external appearance is. Female or ovarian hermaphrodite, this is a female who has an ovary, regardless what the external appearance is. Testicular hermaphrodite. The external genital organs resemble female, but not well developed. There is testicles in the abdominal cavity. Sex chromosomes are XY. What is the cause of this case? It is androgen insensitivity. What happens in this case? The embryo has an anomaly that cellular membranes lack the appropriate receptors for androgens. There is no receptors for androgens on the cellular membrane, or the embryo lacks the enzymes that make the androgens in the active form. In either cases, the net result is androgen insensitivity. The tissues cannot react with the androgens in the blood. So, despite he is a male and he has XY chromosomes and he has testicles and has androgens circulating in the blood, but the tissues cannot react with these androgens. So, tissues develop as if this body is a female body. Tissues develop as if this body is a female body, to the extent that there is an opening resemble the opening of the vulva. There is a blind pouch resembling vaginal canal, but just a blind pouch. There is no uterus. The second type, or the second subtype of pseudohermaphrodite, is female or ovarian hermaphrodite. Here the gonad is ovary. The external appearance and external genital organs resemble those of a male. Chromosomes are XX. What is the cause? It is adrenal hyperplasia. We know that adrenal gland or the suprarenal gland in both sexes secrete hormones of both sexes, but in traces. In males, it secretes female sex hormones. In females, it secretes traces of androgens. So in this case, in the female embryo, adrenal hyperplasia causes the adrenal gland to secrete huge amount of androgens in the body of the female. In this case, the body tissues will grow as if it is a body of a male, giving this picture: enlargement of clitoris resembling penis, the body distribution of hair and fat resemble those of male, baldness of hair, virilization of voice. All the external appearance resemble male, but she is a female inside because of the ovaries and the chromosomes are XX. After we finished the explanation of intersex states and the types of intersex states, how to identify these cases, how to examine a case of intersex state. On level of clinical examination and on level of investigations, there are presumptive data just giving a probability as the body build, fat, hair, larynx, voice. Highly presumptive data, which are the secondary sexual organs, and the certain data, as we know, are the gonads, the primary sexual organs, ovaries in females and testes in males. On level of investigations, we have sex chromatin, gonadal biopsy, DNA examination, and X-ray on certain bones. What is sex chromatin? We take samples from the buccal mucosal cells or root sheath of hair. In female, in these somatic cells, we see Barr body. In polymorph nuclear leukocytes, we see Davidson body, which has a drumstick appearance. What is this? What is the sex chromatin? We know that somatic cells divide by mitosis. In some levels of or phases of mitotic division, one X chromosome become active, and if there is any extra X chromosome, it will become inactive and will crumble and appear like a mass which is stained blue with hematoxylin and leucine stains in histological slides. This is called Barr body. We see Barr body as a blue mass attached to the inside of the nuclear membrane in some phases of mitotic division of somatic cells. According to the same theory, which is an extra X chromosome, more than one X chromosome, in polymorph nuclear leukocytes, it is called Davidson body. The inactive X chromosome appear as a drumstick appearance in the mitotic division of polymorph nuclear leukocytes. I will ask you a question. If I examined some cells for sex chromatin in females of Turner syndrome, will I see Barr bodies? The answer is no. I will not see a Barr body. Why? Because females of Turner syndrome have only one X chromosome, which will be always active in mitotic divisions of somatic cells. On the contrary, if I looked for sex chromatin in Klinefelter syndrome cases, will I see Barr bodies or Davidson body? Yes. Why? Because there is an extra X chromosome. What I mean by that sex chromatin test must be applied in only persons with normal number of chromosomes. It will be positive in normal females with normal number of chromosomes, and it will be negative in normal males with normal number of chromosomes. I can't use this test with any syndromes that have abnormal numbers of chromosomes. It will give misleading results. Okay? So sex chromatin will be positive in normal females, negative in normal males, and I can't use this test to give me reliable results in cases of chromosomal abnormalities. Okay? What can I see also? In males, Y chromosome is detected in nuclei by quinacrine dye. These are pictures of Barr bodies attached to the inner side of nuclear membrane. It appears as a blue point in somatic cells of normal females. This is Davidson body appear as a drumstick appearance of polymorph nuclear leukocyte nuclei, also in normal females with normal number of chromosomes. What else we can do in investigations? We can do chromosomal study. This is X chromosome, XX, so this is female, XY, this is male. X chromosome, large and tall, compared to Y chromosome, XY and XX. This is a picture by electron microscope for X chromosome and Y chromosome. Remember that in Turner syndrome there is a missing X chromosome. It is only 45 chromosomes, which are 44 somatic chromosomes and 1 X chromosome. And in Klinefelter syndrome there is an extra X chromosome, making a total of 47 chromosomes, 44 somatic chromosomes plus 3 sex chromosomes due to an extra X chromosome. This is a case of male pseudo-hermaphrodite. This case came to the emergency with bilateral mass diagnosed provisionally without complete investigations as bilateral inguinal hernia. On the operating table, the surgeon noticed that the texture of the mass is not likely to be an intestinal loop. Otherwise, he suspected an undescended testis. What should he do in this case? In this case, he is suspecting a case of male pseudo-hermaphrodite, which is not diagnosed, and the family doesn't know any clue about that. What should he do? Should he complete his operation and removing both testes, or should he close and just discharge the patient as this is not hernia? What should he do? The right thing to be done in this case is to take biopsy and close, discharge the patient, send the biopsy for histological and pathological examination. When the report comes that this is testicular tissue of undescended testes and non-functioning, the doctor, the physician, should explain to the family that this case of male pseudo-hermaphrodite has undescended testes that has a high risk of malignancy, and in all cases it is not functioning, so it should be removed, and this person who was raised as a female all these years can continue his life as a female to the extent that to marry as a female, because there is external genital organs resembling female. The only thing that he will not conceive, there will be no childbearing because there is no uterus, but he can live the rest of his life as a female as he was raised all these years. So, to avoid any medical legal responsibility, during surgery, the surgeon should take biopsy and reclose. If testicular tissue, refer to forensic department for their opinion in a written report. Immediate gonadectomy, removing the undescended testes, as the incidence of malignancy is high in case of undescended testes. Bilateral gonadectomy was done after consent of the guardians. The other type of investigations that can be done to determine sex is DNA examination. We can perform sex identification easily and accurately using the polymerase chain reaction (PCR) of sex chromosomes specific locus XY homologous gene amylogenin. This part of the DNA that determine what sex chromosome will go out of this DNA. A question: in which case sexing is negative? A. Turner syndrome. B. Gonadal agenesis. C. Hermaphrodite cases. D. Klinefelter syndrome. Which case shows chromosomal abnormality? A. Male pseudo-hermaphrodite. B. Turner syndrome. C. Female pseudo-hermaphrodite. D. True hermaphrodite. Okay, returning to the determination of sex by investigations. X-ray on certain bones. X-ray on certain bones can give us a clue about sexing. If we have the entire skeleton, we can determine sex 100%. If we have pelvis and skull together, we can determine sex by a percentage of accuracy 98%. Pelvis alone 95%. Skull alone 90%, long bones alone 80%, and some special bones as sternum give us clue about sex. Details about how to determine sex from bone examination will be explained in details in the practical section. And now we finish our lecture. Any question, you can send it on our page. Thank you.